Number 10. Wally West Super 7. Wally West of the Super 7 isn't necessarily darker in terms of actions, it's more so what happens to him in this universe. Don't know what the Super 7 is? Well, it's a team made up of the remaining Justice League members after the League was disbanded because of an evil alien bandit invasion. At first they were able to hold the invaders off, but when the alien leader Grendel issued a decree that every time a metahuman was seen, they would kill 1,000 people, and then 5,000 more when one tried to fight back. A lot of heroes decided to step back from the hero game, but not the Super 7. Wally was one of the few superheroes who dared to continue to fight, but unfortunately for him, his legs were broken and nearly destroyed completely during a riot, leaving him unable to run, which is, kind of his whole thing. Embarrassed and inconsolable, Wally moved to Seattle and took up the new identity of Jay Allen. However, it didn't take long for the Super 7 to find him and convince him to rejoin the fight. Wally is initially reluctant because he can't run anymore, and he reveals that he actually destroyed his own Flash suit, but don't worry, he still wore the Kid Flash ring. Eventually he decides that joining the team once again is the right thing to do. However, it doesn't end too well for him because he winds up getting impaled by a spear while saving the Green Lantern. Check out this sad Wally West for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1994's Adventures of Superman Annual Number 6. Number 9. Sayla Allen. From the name alone you can probably guess it, but Sayla is obviously a descendant of Barry Allen. However, she didn't have any powers. Her father was actually the wielder of the Speed Force, and that led to some pretty unfortunate events. In the year 2231, the Cobalt Blue, who was the rival of her father, managed to capture all three of the Allen family, and he crippled Sayla and killed her mother while her father was forced to watch. When her father was finally able to save Sayla, he took her to the edge of the Speed Force in an attempt to heal her, as the damage done to her body was so extreme, but unfortunately it didn't work. 8 months later, her father was killed while fighting Cobalt Blue, and somehow Sayla managed to emerge as a physical form of the Speed Force. While her real body is technically still in the Speed Force, her conscious state exists as a manifestation projecting itself. Although she doesn't have an actual body, she has all the powers of the other members of the Flash family and took up the mantle of the Flash, just like her father and those before him. Give her story a read for yourself, starting with 1999's The Flash, Volume 2, number 146. Number 8. Velocity. Also known as Overtake, this evil clone of Jay Garrick was created by none other than the Brotherhood of Evil and Monsieur Mala and sold to Ratu Brennan, dictator of Mali, and Ratu used him to guard his chemical weapons. With all of the same powers of the Flash minus the actual connection to the Speed Force, Velocity is absolutely not someone you want to go toe to toe with. Not only is he fast, he is incredibly sharp and able to think quickly on his feet, as he has shown that he adapts his fighting style based on the type of opponent he's fighting, and when he's up against teams, he quickly pinpoints the strongest member and takes them out first. He is first unleashed on the Outsiders when they're discovered by Brennan. The Speedster comes close to defeating the team when Metamorpho attacks him with acid and manages to overpower him. He's later taken by Green Lantern, who states that the Outsiders cannot be trusted. Give this evil clone story a read for yourself, starting with 2006 Outsiders Volume 3, number 35. Number 7. Brian Mallory. Now, if you're not familiar with the Legends of the Dead Earth storyline, it was a grim crossover event spanning across many DC titles that told stories of a possible future where the Earth itself had died long ago and its heroes were gone with it. However, the heroes still left an impression on history, and their stories and legends were passed down in various ways. Many, if not all of these legends, were spread around the universe by the Martian Manhunter himself, as this was his way of honoring the lives of his departed friends. Brian Mallory was one of the lucky few to receive powers from the Martian Manhunter, and he became the Flash of this frozen planet. Now, more specifically, the Mallory family were the receivers of the book and the gift, and it was their duty to pass it down the line to the eldest born son, Brian, as their worship of the Flash's life and the Speed Force allowed him to access the quote-unquote light, the power from which would save and sustain their people. With all the powers you would expect from a member of the Flash family, Brian used these powers to not only avenge his father's deaths, but also to save his people. Check out Brian in his one-off appearance in 1996's The Flash Annual Volume 2, number 9. Number 6. Baroness Blitzkrieg. A member of the Fourth Reich, a team of some German ideological villains, comes Baroness Blitzkrieg, a lesser-known speedster who never really used her powers for good. Alongside Shadow of War, Count Berlin, Baron Gestapo, and Captain Murder, the Fourth Reich was formed by Vandal Savage for the purpose of killing off descendants of the patriotic heroes of the Golden Age. Baroness did her share by targeting and eliminating several of Commander Steel's descendants, and after that she went on to target Stripesy's son, Mike Dugan. Thankfully though, Jay Garrick stepped in before any more blood could be shed. Since she hasn't made many appearances in the comics, we're not 100% sure how fast she is or what other speedster powers she possesses, but by no means does that make her any less evil. Now, it's also heavily implied that she's related to Baron Blitzkrieg, an enemy of the Golden Age team of heroes All-Star Squadron. However, it's never really been confirmed or denied. Check her out in her first appearance in 2007's Justice Society of America Volume 3, number 2.
Number 5. Zoom. Hunter Zolomon in the comics was originally Wally West's friend who turned rival. After he became paralyzed after an incident involving Gorilla Grodd, Hunter asked Wally to help him by using the cosmic treadmill to go back in time and prevent him from becoming paralyzed. When Wally refused to help, Hunter broke into the Flash Museum and attempted to use the treadmill himself, resulting in an accident that caused Zolomon to lose his connection with time. He decided that he would use his newfound power to help Wally become a better hero, reasoning that Wally had only refused to help him because he did not understand what it was like to suffer a severe personal loss. And so he would gift this suffering to Wally by aiming to kill his wife, Linda. Oh, so kind, what a good friend. The power he gained from the accident allowed him to manipulate time relative to himself. So while he was not able to use the Speed Force to rival the speed of Barry or Wally, he can adjust his own self within time to make himself as fast as he chooses, even managing to be faster than Wally at times. Pretty impressive. Number 4. The Black Racer. In the comics, the Black Racer is basically Death incarnate for the Speedsters. This version of Death is imbued with the Speed Force so that even those who would seemingly be capable of outrunning Death may still pass on. While some have proven even too fast for the Black Racer himself, like Wally West, Barry Allen once found himself caught by the Black Racer after attempting to outrun him. In the events of Darkseid War, the Black Racer catches Barry and successfully merges with him, transforming him into a living version of the God of Death, despite the fact that Barry tried to escape this destiny. Because you know, he didn't really want to be Death and kill people. He's a hero. Too bad, can't outrun Black Racer. Not if you're Barry Allen. Number 3. Dark Flash. Walter West is an alternate version of Wally West. His life paralleled Wally's with one major difference. His love, Linda Park, was killed by Cobra. This event changed Walter from a hero to a villain, turning him dark. He became a student of Savitar, learning everything he could about the Speed Force from him. Soon, Walter surpassed Savitar, and after he felt he had learned all he could from his teacher, he killed him. When Walter first crossed paths with Wally West, he proved too fast for him. However, Wally soon returned disguised as Zoom and managed to beat Dark Flash, though this version of Wally West was in his prime. You know, if it takes prime Wally West to beat Walter, then you could determine that Dark Flash himself could likely beat Barry Allen in a foot race. Number 2. Wally West. Wally West is known for being the fastest Flash around. During the final issue of Flash War, we saw him exceed even his mentor Barry Allen. Zoom has pit the two heroes against one another as Wally races to break open the Speed Force and free his kids after Zoom led him to believe that they were trapped within the Speed Force. Barry Allen works to stop this from happening. Zoom's plot is to have the speed barrier broken open so that he can retrieve power found only beyond that and use it to rewrite his past. Once the two heroes team back up, Wally finds himself chasing the impossibly fast Zoom. Barry actually urges Wally to move even faster. Barry's words of encouragement ensure Wally that he believes in him and knows that he is capable of being fast enough to stop Zoom. The pep talk works, and Wally not only beats his mentor Barry Allen in terms of his speed, but also successfully defeats Zoom. Number 1. Iris West II. So if Wally West is the fastest, how could there be anyone faster? Make way for Iris West II. Iris West is Wally's daughter, and we are first introduced to her in Kingdom Come. After an issue with the Speed Force causes her and her brother Jay to rapidly age, we see her as a 40-year-old, and she is just as fast as his father, and that's obviously when she would be past her prime. Later, when Queen Bee gains control of her, she gives Iris a device which allows her to tap into her full potential in terms of her connection to the Speed Force. It turns out she is a conduit for the Speed Force, and is able to use it to control speed and time. Wally seemed to be one of the only few that could even fight against his daughter's speed warp abilities, and even then her powers dramatically reduced his speed. Although the events involving Queen Bee left Iris afraid of the full extent of her powers, the fact remains that the Force is strong with this one. I have no doubt that she's going to become like the fastest Flash ever if we get to see more of her.
Number 10. Speed Demon. Coming to us from the Amalgam Universe, a parallel universe that is composed of mashups of some of our favorite Marvel and DC characters that was unfortunately destroyed thanks to the cross-multiveral conflict, comes Blaze Allen, a combination of Barry Allen and Johnny Blaze. Once a stunt rider working at a carnival, Blaze Allen becomes the Speed Demon following the death of his wife at the hands of the evil Night Spectre. He was convinced by Merlin to bond with the demon known as Etrigan, and from there, the entity known as Speed Demon was born. Granted the abilities of Ghost Rider, including his fiery powers as well as super strength, Speed Demon is not actually all that fast despite his name and lineage. While the character is a formidable fighter and an all-around powerful being, he falls very short in the speed department, especially compared to all the other speedsters. There have been other characters that have taken up this mantle, including both Jay Garrick and Wallace West. However, all of their abilities seem to be similar to the originals. Check out Blaze Allen for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1996's Speed Demon number 1. Number 9. Deceased Flash. Now a member of the anti-living, Barry Allen, formerly known as the hero The Flash, is exactly what you think he is, a zombified speedster. When the anti-life equation begins spreading worldwide, Barry went into hiding alongside Kid Flash, until they were found by Superman and Green Lantern. Leaving Wally in their more than capable hands, the Flash sped off to the Daily Planet where he encountered an infected Giganta. Thankfully though, she was taken down with a blast to the head from Cyborg. Soon after, we see the Fortress of Solitude turned into a shelter for the uninfected heroes. However, an infected Martian Manhunter was able to make it through, and not only did he kill Lex Luthor by just ripping him in half, he infected the Flash with a scratch to the back as well. Barry immediately ran out of the fortress because he didn't want to hurt or infect anyone else, and it didn't take long for him to become fully infected, and he started attacking the remaining survivors all across the world. He was finally stopped by Superman after the two collided into each other at full force, killing the speedster right then and there, but not before he was able to infect the Man of Steel. Give this storyline a read for yourself, starting with 2019's Deceased, number 1. Number 8. Barry Allen Out of Time. Hailing from a possible future, this iteration of the Flash is a much darker Barry Allen from 20 years in the future. This future Flash first appears in the Flash Annual Volume 4 number 3 as a broken man. Reeling from the death of a close friend and fellow speedster Wally West, Future Flash travels backwards through time on a crusade to murder all the former enemies he deems responsible for West's death, hoping to somehow change the future. His actions only widen a tear in the Speed Force, however, and the once hero ultimately decides to use a present-day Barry Allen's energy to seal the rift, proving his superiority in a one-on-one battle against himself. Because apparently the Flash is like a fine wine and only betters with age, the pair are soon interrupted by the arrival of Wally West. Able to take on both speedsters at once, Future Flash's actions caused the one thing he began his quest to stop: the death of Wally West. Give the storyline a read for yourself, starting with the Flash Annual Volume 4 number 3, and let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Number 7. The Rival. Real name Edward Clare, the Rival is the archenemy of the Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, and is one of the oldest speedsters around. Clarence was a professor at the university Jay Garrick went to and believed that he had the know-how and means to recreate the speed formula that gave Jay Garrick his powers in the first place. He was able to develop a drug derivative of the same formula called Velocity 9, and after taking it himself he gained the powers a speedster would have. However, he found out that they were only temporary. He became the criminal that he is because his findings were rejected by his fellow science peers, and decided then to don a darker version of Jay Garrick's costume and commit crimes under the name The Rival. After losing to the Flash the first time, the Rival resurfaced a couple months later, and during his battle with the Flash, he was somehow able to reach light speed and just vanished and was stuck traveling through the Speed Force until he was pulled out by Johnny Sorrow. Check him out for yourself in his first appearance in 1949's Flash Comics number 104. Number 6. Dark Flash. Walter West is essentially an identical version of Wally West, just from another timeline, with their two histories mirroring each other's up until one certain point. Walter's version of Linda Park, the girlfriend/wife of Wally, is killed during a battle with Cobra. Turning him into a very bitter speedster and eventually the Dark Flash, Walter develops an authoritarian zero-tolerance policy for criminals, going so far as to cruelly maim them if they denied his actions and got in his way. Eventually, Walter learned that the love of his life was still alive and well in another timeline, and he set out to defeat Wally West and completely replace him. Able to easily take on his alternate timeline counterpart, Wally, who is often considered the fastest character to take up the Flash mantle, which further extends the parallel between the two. Check him out for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1999's Chain Lightning finale, Finish Line.
Number 5. Leah Nelson. Leah Nelson comes from Earth 9. She's a fashion model and an actress, and she has super speed, and is one of the most famous superheroes in the world. She's in the top 3 famous heroes of this Earth: her, Superman, and the Atom. Her parents were the first astronauts on the Jupiter mission, so she was born famous. Leah had a unique dilemma. She couldn't really decide, was she a hero or a celebrity? Where did she want to apply her skills? She would actually join the Secret Six. She would also do some dimensional traveling and manipulate Jay Garrick from Earth 2 to his death. Leah comes from the Tangent Comics universe, a line developed to create new characters using pre-established DC names. Some had a real fondness for this universe, and it would reappear briefly in Convergence. Number 4. Iris West 2. We're looking at Earth 22, where the Flash, Wally West, spent almost all of his time patrolling the city obsessively at super speed, but he would spare some time for Iris's brother Barry, who was lazy and didn't even want to be a hero unlike Iris, which made her bitter because she felt he was favored. She would end up being recruited to stop the time-traveling villain Gog, which altered her history. She would end up on a team of next-gen heroes along with Nightstar and Offspring. Number 3. Surge. Surge is interesting in that he is pretty unique. I said extremely originally, but that's a bit much. Also, he has a completely different looking costume. You rock that dark green, sir. He is a speedster working for the Hand of God, a hero protecting specifically the Vatican from superpowered threats. I don't know, it's just so niche. He didn't make it though. He was marked by the Atom and turned against his charge, and he killed the rest of his team and the Pope, because this comic is edgy. He was later hunted down and killed by the Midnighter. Wildstorm is now incorporated into DC, by the way. Number 2. Red Death. Taking us over to the Dark Knights Metal event, wherein the Dark Multiverse was unveiled, a series of negative Earths where the darkest of timelines reign. And in these universes, Dark Batman featured prominently, and many were fused with other DC characters, so this included the Flash. So this happened on Earth -52, where Batman kept losing Robins on his mission and eventually made him snap. So he became more and more brutal when it came to stopping crime. So when the world was ending, he demanded that the Flash give him the Speed Force, and when he refused, he knocked him out and tied him to the hood of his car. And then he drives himself and the Flash into the Speed Force by using the cosmic treadmill. This ended up fusing them together and creating Red Death. Barry's consciousness was subsumed in this, by the way. And number 1, Jay Garrick. So Jay Garrick is not an alternate version of the Flash in the traditional sense, in that he is the first Flash from the Golden Age, who would be replaced by Barry Allen in the Silver Age, but brought back to life on Earth 2 with the 1961 story Flash of Two Worlds. So even though he was the first, as time has gone on, for many fans he doesn't exactly feel that way. He feels to many like an alternate version from another Earth. Barry owes a lot to Jay. He wouldn't exist without him. There would be no Flash to update. Jay Garrick is a staple of the DC universe, part of the pillar that is their legacy, a huge part of what many people enjoy about DC. Jay was actually really popular in the Golden Age. He was featured in more than one ongoing comic. He would only get cancelled because of the decline in superhero comics popularity post-World War II. Since coming back, he has pretty much been a constant, though the New 52 altered that in the way they shifted legacy characters to separate Earths once more. I don't know, give me all the generational characters, but organically. Let it happen.
Kicking off the list at number 10, Bizarro Flash. When the Flash made his first appearance in Showcase issue 4, his first villain was the slowest guy ever, named, appropriately, the Turtle. Now the Flash at this point wasn't used to his newfound speed, so he kept sprinting by him. Also, the Turtle was great at spray painting silhouettes, which helps. It was a fun origin story to show how fast the Flash can really go, but if it came down to it, who would win in a fight, Bizarro Flash or the Turtle? Coming from Action Comics issue 856, Bizarro Flash, the fattest man on Earth instead of the fastest, actually took down 4 dudes with his, body weight. Now this is Bizarro World characters, so they act as their opposites. It's a fun alternate that I wanted to throw in, but I really do believe that this guy could actually fall on the Turtle and just crush him to death. Because being slower in that first Showcase issue would have probably done the trick for the Flash. What do you guys think? Let us know down below. Number 9, Johnny Quick. Jonathan Chambers made his first appearance in More Fun Comics issue 71. He comes from the original Earth 2, the same time as around World War I. Johnny at the time was a news photographer, and his guardian and role model, Professor Ezra Gill, figured out this equation, okay? He took a papyrus from the ancient tomb of King Amen, studied it, and then realized that this formula could be the secret to tapping into the 4th dimension of time. Interstellar stuff, let's do it. But sadly, he didn't get to live that far, so he passed this formula down to Jonathan and told him how to use it. Jonathan was inspired by the Earth 2's Flash, Jay Garrick, so he too made a costume, an alias, and started saving the day as Johnny Quick. Now he wasn't as fast as Jay, but still, this was a major upgrade, not bad at all. He was soon recruited into the government's All-Star Squadron, and after World War II, he joined the Reconstructed Justice Society. Now once he retired, for the most part, he married another superhero, Liberty Bell, and they had a nice honeymoon on Earth S. Now before we head over to number 8, if you're enjoying the video, please just throw us a thumbs up, share the love. Those clicks do go a long way for us in our channel. You're the best, thank you so much. Now let's get right back to this list. Number 8. Jessie Quick, aka Jessie Chambers, the daughter of Golden Age heroes Johnny Quick and Liberty Bell. Jessie made her first comic book appearance in Justice Society of America Volume 2, and her father taught her the formula that allows her to tap into the Speed Force as well. It's like Pythagorean's theorem, but a little bit more useful, just a tad. She wasn't throwing villains into the future, but while she was studying at Gotham University, the Justice Society of America came back, so she studied these returned heroes. She was working on a thesis about the importance of superheroes in society, so it was her homework to stalk them, essentially. Her father got her to drop off some documents to the team, and in doing so, she ended up joining them as Jessie Quick. Jessie took over the Liberty Bell name in the third iteration of the JSA, and then later married the second Hour Man, Rick Tyler. Number 7. John Fox. Making his first appearance in the Flash Special Issue 1, John Fox resided comfortably in the future, year 2645 to be exact. He was a historian for the National Academy of Science in Central City, and his life changed when the radioactive villain Manfred Moda showed up. Now, he was causing destruction. The world was in chaos because of this guy. So the Academy decided, you know what, let's just send John back in time because we're in the future and we can do that. And then John can grab a Flash or two, come back, and then help us take down Moda together as a big happy family. Now, the plan didn't work. He couldn't get any Flashes to come back to the future with him, but during his cosmic commute, John himself got super speed. So he quickly suited up and took down Moda himself. John Fox is actually named after writers John Broome, co-creator of Barry Allen and Wally West, and Gardner Fox, who co-created Jay Garrick. Super fun. Now, this sounds like the dream scenario, but John lost his job when speed robots came into the picture. The future is all but bright. Number 6. Bart Allen. Making his first full appearance in The Flash Volume 2, Issue 92, Bart Allen was the grandson of Barry Allen, his father was Don Allen, and his mother was Milani Thawne, descendant of Flash villains Cobalt Blue and Professor Zoom. So it's a nice Game of Thrones type family. We've got a lot of people in and out of the timeline. Now, Bart was of course born with his grandfather's gift, but he also aged at hyperspeed, which is a little concerning. When he was 2 years old, his body was already at age 12. It's like Benjamin Button, but, you know, with more explosions. President Thawne had the Dominators abduct Bart so they could do experiments and all that evil jazz, but they ended up creating a clone of Bart called Inertia. Bart was of course going to die earlier than most because of his aging problem, so Iris West took him to the 20th century so the third Flash, Wally West, could teach Bart how to control his powers. Bart later came back as Impulse and was one of the founding members of Young Justice. Happy endings for all.
Coming in at number 5, we have Nora Allen. In the Justice League Legacy universe, we have the existence of Nora Allen. I would say the unfortunate existence, not because Nora is a bad character, no, she's actually very cool, but because the Legacy universe is kind of run down. Most of the heroes have been killed, leaving Nora and a new league of youngsters to set up and try and keep what's left of the world safe. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a fun time if you ask me. Coming in at number 4, we have Velocity. I mean, is a clone a kid? Kinda. They share the same DNA. They have to be grown from an embryonic state. They share your traits. Well, they share all of your traits. But for the sake of this list, we're getting a few clones on here to even things out. And Velocity is one of my favorites. Not only is he cloned from one of the original Flashes, Jay Garrick, it's hard to say who is actually the original Flash with all the time traveling that goes on with the Flash family. Also, can we talk about how awesome Jay Garrick's little metal hat is and how strange it is that it never flies off? But I love that look. The only look that I would say I like more when it comes to Flashes is Velocity. He's got an all black suit with a red eye cover. He looks like they took Knight Rider and then morphed him into a being that is even faster and cooler than the car. Velocity has all your standard Flash powers along with some more advanced ones like being able to move his molecules through solid objects. I've always thought that is cool but a risky move whenever the Flash tries to pull something like that off. But he's got a weakness that other Flash members don't have to worry about. His DNA is corrupted, so if he spends too much time out of his super suit, his DNA will start to decay and he can actually die pretty quickly. I guess locking that speed force into a clone isn't the easiest thing in the world. Coming in at number 3, we have Inertia, the original clone of Bart Allen. Who is Bart Allen? We will get to that in just a moment. Inertia was cloned from Bart Allen, who is the grandson of Barry Allen and one of the Thwane family members. He doesn't really find his place in the world until Eobard convinces him to go back in time to fight Barry. But the two don't really fight, they just kind of go back and forth until Barry convinces him that he doesn't actually have to be a bad guy, he can be a good guy. The kid speed is actually pretty easy to break through to, and he becomes a member of the Flash family. Yay! Coming in at number 2, we have Bart Allen, one of the youngest speedsters. Once again, if you're looking at when they might have popped up in the timeline, like technically Supergirl is older than Superman, but time travel is a tricky thing. Now, Bart Allen is the grandson of Barry Allen and the son of Melanie Thwayne, and we all know that Thwayne isn't a name that you want to hear when you're a member of the Flash family. We will get more into that later. But this little dude might end up being one of the most powerful members of the Flash family. For one, he has all of the Flash powers that we have talked about on this list already, and you at home already know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to break them down because we know what the basics of each Flash are. They can run fast, they can do things fast, blah blah blah. None of that is new information. But on top of the basics, Bart can also use electrokinesis, meaning he can bend and control electricity firing it out of his body. He's able to tap into cosmic energy to fill in gaps in his memory about what happened in the timeline, and he can travel through dimensions, and it would seem that he's immune to most poisons, and he's just a kid. Imagine how powerful he will be when he's a full-grown Flash. And coming in at the number 1 spot is, of course, the Reverse Flash. Eobard Thane, a dude all the way from the future, a guy from the 25th century where everything is so perfect and no one needs to worry about anything. A future where he could have stayed and been happy if he wasn't such a psycho. The Reverse Flash is one of the best villains from the DC universe and has some sort of connection to Barry in terms of DNA. He has used his powers to try and destroy every aspect of Barry's life. He has gone back and killed Barry's friends. He's gone back and killed Barry's mom. He even tried to stop Barry from getting his powers, but that would have stopped Eobard from existing as well. Eobard is using something similar to the Speed Force, but a negative version of it. And from existing in the future, he knows that he's destined to be the Flash's arch enemy, and he tries to live up to that standard.
Number 10, Johnny Quick. On Earth 3, the Crime Syndicate of America rules, kind of like an evil Justice League. Johnny Quick is basically the Crime Syndicate's version of the Flash. While he may share his name with Golden Age hero Johnny Quick, make no mistake that he is nothing like the man he shares the name with, except for the fact that they are both known for their speed. When the Crime Syndicate attacked Earth 1 and Earth 2, it took the efforts of both the Justice League and the Justice Society of America to put a stop to them. And while Johnny Quick was beaten and is not inherently as fast as Barry Allen on his own, he crafted a helmet to enhance his abilities, making him faster while intensifying his connection with the Speed Force. When armed with this helmet, he proves a hard one to catch. Number 9, Lady Flash. Lady Flash hails from Earth 33. On our alternate Earth, the Speed Force is magic-based as opposed to being based in science. Lady Flash finds herself as the keeper of this magic-based Speed Force and is also a member of the League of Shamans, who are basically Earth 33's version of the Justice League. Having complete control over the Speed Force, she is capable of controlling the connection others have to the Force, allowing her to steal speed energy from those who would oppose her and deposit it back into the Speed Force. Beyond that, she also has a ton of other magic-based speed powers, which other versions of the Flash do not possess. So while she hasn't really participated in a lot of speedster races just yet, it could be expected that she would place above most other versions of the Flash due to her insanely powerful magical abilities. Number 8, Future Flash. This version of the Flash is a future version of Barry Allen himself from 20 years in the future. In the timeline he came from, Wally West was killed, so he traveled back in time to try and eliminate everyone that he deemed responsible for the death of his nephew. The Future Flash's actions ended up creating a huge tear in the Speed Force, which he sought to close by killing his present-day self and using his energy to seal the tear. What he doesn't expect is for Wally West to turn up to this fight to try and stop him. The ensuing fight results in present-day Barry becoming lost in the Speed Force and Wally's demise, meaning that Future Flash ends up becoming the cause of the very thing he had traveled back in time to try and prevent. Ain't that just how it goes when you're time traveling? Number 7, Reverse Flash. Eobard Thawne is a time-traveling arch-nemesis to Barry Allen who comes from the 25th century. He once admired Allen's Flash, only to discover that he was destined to become his greatest enemy. Thawne has more knowledge than Barry Allen when it comes to the Speed Force, even creating his own unique type of Speed Force energy, the Negative Speed Force. Combined with his disregard for consequences as a result of messing with the Speed Force and with time, Thawne often gets the upper hand on Barry and ends up strides ahead of him. How many times can I say Speed Force in one video? You're gonna find out. Number 6. Godspeed. Speed, speed, speed. August Hart was part of the Central City Police Department, working alongside Barry to round up all of the sit-ins who found themselves affected by a speed storm that had passed through, as this storm had granted some bystanders speed powers. It turned out that August himself was also affected in such a way, which Barry eventually came to learn when he caught on that August was using his speed powers to steal speed energy from those that he claimed to protect. Barry could not take down Godspeed alone, and actually had to call on other Flashes to help him defeat the villain. Godspeed's connection to the Speed Force is so pure that he can simply sense the Speed Force in others, and his powers allowed him to duplicate himself, create constructs, and even siphon speed energy from other speedsters, in effect stealing it and using it to power himself, making him even faster. All things that were beyond Barry Allen's abilities at the time.
Number 5. Excess. First appearing in Legionnaires in 1994, Jenny was the daughter of Don Allen, one of the twins that I just mentioned. Right after her birth, the family was attacked by Professor Zoom. Her uncle Don and the rest of the family tried to get away. They tried to escape to a parallel Earth using the handy-dandy cosmic treadmill, but things went south and Jenny and her family got stranded on Earth 247, aka post-zero hour. At first, Jenny didn't inherit any speed powers, but the Dominators, captured her anyways. They saw that last name on her ID and they're like, we're still gonna take her, let's still do it. So she saw her father being tortured and voila, it happened, her powers came to be. So she saved her father and then got out of Dodge, and then Jenny started to train right away, and it didn't take long until she was drafted into the Legion of Superheroes. I mean, aside from the tragedy, it's a pretty cool family. Number 4. Mary Maxwell. Just imagine Stan Lee's The Flash was released back in 2002, and it's a fun tribute towards the talented artists and writers at DC Comics. This new look at The Flash introduces readers to Mary Maxwell, a college student living with a degenerative disease, and of course she was a fan of superheroes. Her father was a scientist working on a cure, but the stealth organization took care of him. Sad stuff. But before his untimely death, he injected Mary with that serum that he'd been putting together, with the key component being hummingbird DNA. So Mary was cured, and as you would guess, she turned into a living hummingbird. No, she got super speed, and she's actually almost as fast as Barry Allen. But the fact that she isn't connected to the Speed Force makes her a little bit less quick, but still not too shabby at all. Number 3. Dark Flash. Walter West first appeared in The Flash Volume 2, issue 150. His life was pretty similar to Wally West's, only difference was his eyes were blue instead of green. Oh, and also his wife Linda Park did die at the hands of Cobra. Sad stuff. I see why his name is Dark Flash already, yikes. So afterwards, Walter joined forces with Savitar, took notes, and then killed him. So when Linda just randomly appeared outside of the Flash Museum though, things changed. Wally and Linda, the alive Linda, alternate reality, ended up in Walter's timeline, but they weren't alone. Abracadabra followed them through that time stream and then attacked. This guy had to watch his wife die again, which is so brutal. So his next plan was to go back through the time stream to Wally's reality, take his place as the Flash, and maybe, I don't know, do some healing, do some good. When you travel through timelines, things get messy. The realities begin to merge, and the livelihood with everybody at both worlds was now at stake. So while Walter was in his new home, he met Central City Police scientist Angela Margolin and fell in love, only to have to leave her down the road. Walter can't catch a break at all. This is really sad. Number 2. Red Racer. Coming from Earth 36, Ray, aka Red Racer, was a formidable teammate to the Justice 9. He first appears in Action Comics Volume 2, Issue 9. Red Racer was of course the speedster in this universe, and the leader of this Justice 9 was Opti-Man, before he got killed by Super Doomsday of Earth 45. Earth 36 is based on the Golden and Silver Ages of DC Comics, and in the Multiversity Guidebook, Red Racer is seen with Barry Allen and other Flashes that I've mentioned in a flashback to before Crisis on Infinite Earths. Red Racer is a comic book fan who gets his powers and falls in love with Flashlight, one of his teammates, Hank Hallmark, who happens to be the Green Lantern of this multiverse. What a powerful couple right there. I mean, they really were living a comic book fan's dream. The thing about being fast is sometimes you need to risk your life for the greater good. So when Supermen of the multiverse were being hunted down, Ray himself built a new ship. Now it should have taken thousands of years, so this is a pretty big thing to offer up. President Superman Kal-El warns Ray about the dangers of compressing thousands of years in order to build this new tool, but Ray replies saying, "Speedsters never think about the cost." What a legend. Especially after hearing all of that, I'm like, hey man, you should think about like a little bit of the cost, like a smidgen of the cost. Iris West II, aka Impulse. Iris West and her twin brother Jai were born to the third Flash, Wally West, and Linda Park. Iris made her first appearance in The Flash Volume 2, issue 225, and when she was born, at first she didn't display any powers, but after the 3-month mark, they began to age rapidly, and they were getting faster and faster. Linda was concerned at the rate of their aging, so Wally encouraged them, to use their powers for good and live a full life, even if it is short. Iris is one of the fastest in the game, and by game, I mean the entirety of the multiverse. She's faster than Wally West, so if that doesn't sell you, I'm not sure what will, to be honest.
Number 10, Johnny Quick. Let's start off with an evil version of the Flash, one from the crime syndicate of Earth 3. So he's called Jonathan Allen, because there is another Johnny Quick. There are a lot of fast people out there, you don't even know. He was a criminal who got struck by lightning. He got struck with his GF, who became Atomica, GF, his girlfriend, and together they joined the crime syndicate. He would revel in his newfound speed and use it to commit untold crimes. He loves eliminating people who resist them as well. One of the things that works about Johnny Quick is he still has the base personality of the Flash, so cheerful and optimistic, but applied to villainy. It's fantastic. In Justice League Crisis on Two Earths, Batman actually kills him indirectly by tricking him into running so fast he hyperages. He did this to save Wally, because one of the speedsters had to go. They had to do what needed to be done. Number 9, Sela Allen. Sela was taken into the Speed Force so she could be healed after she was horribly injured by Cobalt Blue. Her father was later killed fighting Cobalt Blue, and she would emerge as a hero and manifestation of the full energy of the Speed Force. All of this occurred in the 23rd century, making her a descendant of Barry Allen's Flash. Just the idea of being pure Speed Force manifested like that. They say Wally is the fastest man alive, like canonically, or they did. Wait for reboots or 5G or whatever we're supposed to be excited about. Still, he's not one with it, even if he has moved through it at great length. A Speed Force conduit, pretty interesting. Still, she's not exactly a character who is used a lot. Number 8, Flash Beyond. So as the Batman Beyond universe has gone on in comic form, there has been an influx of other characters operating in this future, which of course brings us to Flash Beyond, or Danica Williams. So Danica worked at the Flash Museum. Yes, the Flash has a museum because his city likes him. However, she isn't just any ordinary employee. She is connected to the Speed Force, and she can actually communicate with the Flashes of the past. On her first encounter with the Justice League, she actually saved all of them. Now for some, all of the people taking on the same names in the future is just too much, while others think it's sweet, a passing of the torch. Number 7, Lady Flash. Not the trio, the character. We're gonna look at Lady Flash from Earth 33. She is the keeper of the Speed Force. She appeared in Countdown, which is a much maligned year-long event following a really praised 152 that builds up to Final Crisis, which also was a mess depending upon who you talk to. Keeper of the Speed Force sounds like quite the title. I don't think we could give the Flash that much responsibility. I mean, it would depend which one. Probably not Barry. Def not TW Barry. Number 6, Mary Maxwell. What if Stan Lee created the Flash? A question that some of you may have wanted the answer to. And 2002 with the comic Just Imagine Flash, if you were waiting, you got that answer. Mary always wanted to be a hero, but wasn't sure how to go about it. So when she got injected accidentally with a syringe of hummingbird DNA, she is granted super speed and all of her dreams come true. Also, I know she is fast, but am I the only one who is concerned about the amount of streamers on her outfit? It's so she leaves a rainbow trail behind her, but I feel it could also lead to her doom. She would end up helping the Justice League, the big leagues, give the people what they want.
Number 5, Zoom. Making his first appearance in the Flash Secret Files Origins issue 3, Hunter Zolomon, aka Zoom, believed himself to be the true Flash. He was the main enemy of Wally West's Flash, and he took his name and appearance from the original Reverse Flash. Now it all began when he was injured in an attack from Gorilla Grodd. He was left paralyzed from the waist down, so he asked Wally West if he could, use the cosmic treadmill and maybe go back in time and prevent that horrible life-altering event to take place, something like that. But it's not that easy. Wally said he couldn't do it because you can't risk the time stream. But Hunter was so desperate, he broke into the museum and tried to use the treadmill, but this resulted in an explosion that gave him super speed. Going of course by the name Zoom, he believed that Wally West declined to help out because he never experienced loss. He had no idea what he was talking about, I guess. So Hunter took it upon himself to take out Linda Park, Wally's wife. What a horrible way to teach a life lesson. And then in the Flash issue 200, Wally West uses his powers to freeze Zoom and make him repeat the worst day of his life over and over. That's honestly a pretty messed up thing to do, Wally. I mean, it's not very heroic, but we get it. You kind of sound like a villain though. I mean, someone repeating the worst day of their life? Jesus, dude. Just ground them. Make them bored. Number 4, Avery Ho. One of the leading members of the Justice League of China, Avery Ho's Flash made her first appearance in the Flash Volume 5, Issue 3. She got her powers through the Speed Force storm of Central City, and at first she didn't have much control over them at all. She would just constantly vibrate, which sounds like a headache. It sounds like a nightmare, not being able to stop vibrating. Oh my god. She was visited by Barry Allen though, and he taught her how to control that vibrating problem, and then later on, she was brought to Dewan's Speed Force Academy to learn even more. When an unknown speedster was killing the current speedsters, Avery was able to warn Barry, and in the end she was one of the lucky ones who got to retain her powers while dealing with Godspeed, who I'll explain later on. Number 3. Black Flash. Making its haunting first appearance in the Flash Volume 2, Issue 138, the Black Flash was said to be seen right before the deaths of Barry Allen and Johnny Quick. Max Mercury had a close call with death, so he too saw it. It's literally the personification of death, and at first it came for Wally West, but instead it took his girlfriend Linda Park into the Speed Force. When it later returned, Wally had backup this time. The only ones that could help were the ones connected to the Speed Force, like Jay Garrick, Max Mercury, Jesse Quick, so on and Danforth. They all joined the battle, and finally Wally was able to defeat the Black Flash. Wally raced it to the end of time to do so. He raced it to a place where death had no meaning, so in turn it just dissipated. Now the title Black Flash was also used when Professor Zoom was in his Black Lantern form. Little fun fact. Number 2. Red Death. An evil fusion of Batman and the Flash. Say no more. Batman was the hero of Gotham City. He had his Robins, the usual story, but slowly as his sidekicks were biting the bullet, Bruce Wayne wanted more power to prevent the next one from happening. But he felt like still he wasn't fast enough. He felt like if he had the Flash's power, he could have done a better job. So he tried. He took out every Flash villain, he took all their weapons, and he used it to fight Barry Allen. Batman used his Batmobile and merged it with the Cosmic Treadmill, absorbing his powers, and then the Red Death was born. Now at this point, the Red Death was totally fine with killing. And even worse, he was okay with Barry's consciousness living inside of him, telling him to stop. Man, I thought having a song stuck in your head was bad. Imagine Barry Allen. It'd be a nightmare. And finally, number 1, Future Flash. The Flash from the Out of Time storyline made his first appearance, well, last appearance, I guess, in the Flash Volume 4, Issue 30. Now we're talking 20 years into the future, and at this point Barry witnessed the death of Wally West and he felt guilt. He used his powers to go back in time and kill every enemy that was somehow involved in the path leading there. He does this, but eventually he comes into contact with himself, present day Barry Allen. And then Wally also shows up to stop this dark future Barry, so it's one of those weird ones. It's one of those storylines where Future Flash was actually always responsible for the death of Wally 20 years later. You can't change fate, no matter how fast you can run.
Coming in at number 10, we have Dawn and Dawn Allen. We might as well smash these two onto the same point because you could put them side by side and it would be hard to tell the difference. What happens when two speedsters get busy? Well, apparently they make 2 more speedsters. These guys reproduce like rabbits. When Barry Allen and Iris West decided to have a kid, they popped out twins and they got Dawn and Dawn Allen. Yeah, the D-O-N and D-A-W-N. It seems that the Flashes are great at running super fast, but they aren't good when it comes to naming things. The two of them, of course, got both their parents' speed powers, and they became known as the Tornado Twins. Now that is a good name for a couple of twins that can run super fast. Are they heroes? Well, kinda. They have been part of a few super teams, but sometimes they run off and do things that are on their own terms. I would classify these two as neutral. Honestly, that's a good place to be if you got superpowers. It's like being a freelancer. You don't have to be super all the time, less pressure on your shoulders, and you can turn evil at any time you want. Coming in at number 9, we have Johnny Tyler. Not every person who becomes a member of the Flash family needs to do so through blood or birth. Some of them will unlock the Speed Force all on their own, and that's the story with Jessie Chambers. She became a speedster known as the Flash, and also Jessie Quick, which I think is one hell of a good super name. But we're here to talk about Johnny Tyler. Well, Jessie is his mom, and even though we haven't seen Johnny be much more than a baby since he was born during the Convergence saga, where Brainiac decided he would mix several timelines together and basically restart the DC universe again, we might get to see Johnny Tyler in the future as a new Flash that comes in to save the day in the moment of crisis. That's a good way to intro a new character. And there was something very interesting revealed about people who used the Flash Force while Jessie was pregnant with Johnny. She started to lose her powers. They came back after she gave birth, but during the pregnancy she was slowing down. I guess that's the body's way of protecting a baby. I don't know if running so fast you rip through time is good for a developing fetus. Coming in at number 8, we have Jenny Ognetz, one of Barry Allen's Allen's many grandkids, and she is a powerful one at that. As a teen, she seems to have a great understanding of the Speed Force and can take down some of the toughest villains of her era. She has even been strong enough to become a member of the Legion of Heroes at a very young age. Coming in at number 7, we have Jay West. Could you imagine that you are such a powerful teen that you're manifested in the dark universe? Well, that's pretty much Jay West. Jay West is the son of Wally West, and through his father's fears and powers in the Speed Force, he was created in the dark universe. This was because Wally was so afraid that he would never see his family again. The future of this young speedster is unknown at this point, but there was a future that Dr. Manhattan saw that had Jay become a powerful hero and eventually the Turtle. The Turtle is of course one of the arch enemies of the Flash because he has the ability to drain the Speed Force from the Flash and slow time around him. Seems like the perfect counter move. Now, will Jay grow up to be an all-powerful supervillain? He was created in the dark universe, so he might use his powers for his own gain. Or will he become the Turtle as a force for good and steal the villainous mantle for the side of justice? I mean, time will tell. Or it won't. The universes get reset every 12 minutes, so who knows what the future holds and if any of it will stick. Coming in at number 6, we have Iris West. Let's stick with the West family for our next point. Iris was also created in the dark universe, manifested by the same fear that Wally has of not seeing his family ever again. I didn't know that you can make kids that way. You just have to be so afraid of being alone that you materialize them out of thin air while you're running super fast. I don't think they've come up with a type of birth control for that yet, but if there's money there, you can believe that they will make it. But just like her brother and father, she possesses all the powers that the Speed Force has, and Dr. Manhattan saw a future for her as well. She's supposed to become the new Kid Flash. So could there be a future where her and her brother are mortal enemies, one of them being the Flash and the other being the Turtle? That would be some of the HBO style writing that we all come to comics for. Once family and sworn to protect each other until the end of time, now they are enemies that will kill one another on sight. Oh, that's beautiful.
Number 5. Danica Williams. First appearing in Batman Beyond Unlimited issue 13, Danica Williams was the daughter of a transportation engineer at Star Labs. Her dad's boss was Cyborg and the year is 2040, so they would hop town to town improving transportation by using metahuman technology. Danny wanted to be a track star, but asthma made that a challenge. Plus, Danny would also see and speak to people that weren't really there. She would see these figures in her head. So she had her hands full of complications as is. Well, it turns out she's not really crazy at all. These people are alternate reality versions of the Flash, communicating to her via the Speed Force. So she too had super speed, she just didn't know it. Now, once she discovered her hidden talents, she mastered them. Danny could soon run on air molecules. She got so good so fast. This actually impressed Bart Allen. He couldn't even get to that point. She had a loaded summer. She spent her time training with every version of the Flash, and she got parkour lessons on the side. Most superheroes hide their secret life from their family, but when Danica told her parents about her gift, her scientist father designed her a suit that would protect her. Later on, she convinced the owner of the Flash Museum to give her a job, and Danica is literally the dream Flash. I mean, minus the whole asthma stuff, of course. Everything else is pretty good. Number 4. Accelerated Man. First appearing in Grant Morrison's Multiversity story, Accelerated Man comes from Earth 19. A reality that resembles Victorian-era England, only as King Edward rules, this Earth 19 incorporated electrical technology. So it's quite advanced, this world. It just looks, old-timey. There were other superheroes here as well, like the Batman, the Wonder Woman, the Shrinking Man, and of course, the Accelerated Man. He was also seen in CW's Flash series. In season 3, the episode titled Attack on Central City, you see him pop up. Now, the Accelerated Man rocks the goggles, the face wrap, the scarf. I mean, style-wise, this version of the Flash, killing it. Absolutely killing it. Number 3, Green Lightning. Go Green Lightning. Okay, Allie Rayner West is a descendant of both Kyle Rayner and Wally West. What a dream combo, oh my god. She holds a power ring and can also run at super speed. She first appeared in Green Lantern's Circle of Fire issue 1, created by Kyle Rayner's mind. Now, spoiler alert, she isn't around for too long, but she's definitely worth a mention. I mean, just her powers alone were quite impressive in this comic. Number 2, Tanaka Rai. Coming from Earth D, making his first appearance in Legends of the DC Universe Crisis on Infinite Earths, Tanaka was the Flash going head-to-head with that universe's Mirror Master when Barry Allen accidentally arrived in his universe. So when Barry arrived in this world, he called the Justice League to come help fight off these shadow demons, and Tanaka called on his Justice Alliance. Now together they built a cosmic treadmill and evacuated most of Earth D before it perished. Now both Flashes were powering this thing, but at the end, Tanaka and the Justice Alliance stayed and fought off the shadow demons until the very end, until their world ended. Now it's one thing to meet your hero, but to spend your last mission fighting alongside them, that's a pretty ideal way to go out. And finally, number 1. Cryad. The 98th century Flash. Let's finish on a dark note. I always love doing that. In this future, all humans have become telepathic, but there is now this new creature that popped up and was making everybody lose their minds, and they had like a constant fever as well. This future of humans wasn't looking bright at all. So this history buff at the time named Cryad read up on these 20th century superheroes and traveled back in time to get his hands on maybe a Green Lantern ring. That would be nice. Now when he got there, he couldn't find the lantern, so he instead figured he would take Flash's speed and just do that instead. Now the Flash didn't fall for his tricks, but he did go back a few years to the night the original Flash got his powers. Barry used the chemicals that were spilled onto his old clothes that night, and then Cryad got super speed that way. Now thanks to the mind reading, Cryad picked up all these tricks that the Flash would use, and then he returned to his era and sacrificed his life taking on said beast. Number 10, the Crash. This list gets pretty dark, so we'll start it out on a funny note, just to give you a little shred of hope, you know? This version, the Crash, is a turtle. Well, in fact, the JLA on Earth C- stands for just a lot of animals. He first appeared in Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew issue 14, what a name right there. Of course, alongside other amazing cute heroes like Super Squirrel and Martian Anteater. And also in this universe, Batman is Bat Mouse, not a bat, which is odd, but maybe that's too meta, I don't know, I get it. The Crash's main villain is the Weather Weasel. He still runs at blink and you'll miss it speeds despite being a turtle. Honestly, this book is just full of animal jokes. How do you not love that? Also, Elongator? Get out of town. Take my money. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Number 9, Lady Flash. After these two scientists were inspired by the current Flash, Barry Allen, Dr. Peter Orloff and Dr. Krulik had different ideas when it came to using the Flash's powers. See, Orloff was into the idea that more of these powers being used could bring society together, bring us into harmony, whereas Krulik was interested in the military use of it. A serum was underway and Orloff used animals as test subjects, just a lot of animals, but Krulik wanted humans to test it on. Both pretty bad. He tried it himself, but after running at super speed for the first time, the friction burned him to a crisp. Yeah, that's how that works. The Kremlin had given the pair 3 children to test on, Gregor, Boleslaw, and Christina. They became Blue Trinity together with Orloff in charge. Now once the Manhunters betrayed Blue Trinity, the team was sold to Vandal Savage, where he would then experiment with them using a substance called Velocity 9. Shortly after Vandal Savage apparently killed the Flash, Christina became Lady Savage, and then Lady Flash once Vandal gave her a stolen Flash suit. Now when the Flash did come back to life to take on Vandal, Christina ended up switching sides, and in turn was able to keep jogging along in that costume as Lady Flash. And before we continue on with this list, if you guys want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, it's the one that looks like that, not that one, but that one, it really does help us out quite a bit. You guys are the best. Now let's get right back to this ultimate Flash list. Number 8, Seela Allen. Making her first appearance in the Flash Volume 2, issue 146, Seela Allen is from the 23rd century in Central City. She gets attacked by Cobalt Blue, and in turn, she's left in what I think is an absolute nightmare scenario. Everything for her is in slow motion. Kind of like those dreams where you're trying to run, but your legs are made of, toffee. It's not great, it's a nightmare. So her father was determined to now find a solution because, well, of course. So he attempted to use the Speed Force to cure her, but her consciousness got locked inside of it. Also a nightmare. So now she was a being made up purely of speed. She enhances others' speed in there and she dishes out advice. She's helpful, but she can't leave the Speed Force. What a tragedy. Number 7, Speed Demon. Blaze Allen, coming in hot from the Amalgam Universe, is a powerful combination of Ghost Rider Johnny Blaze and Barry Allen's Flash. This unit first showed up in Speed Demon issue 1 back in 1996, and it all started when Blaze was working at the Quinton Carnival. He married Iris Simpson, but then when the Night Spectre came along and drained Iris of her life force, Blaze Allen fell into a deep depression. If I saw anybody get the life force sucked out of them, I wouldn't sleep, so this makes total sense. Blaze was turning to magic to figure this whole thing out. And no, I don't mean the card game. The real deal. He got so deep into magic that Merlin the magician, helped him bond with the demon Etrigan in order to ensure his late wife's soul was resting in peace, becoming Speed Demon. And so now becoming Speed Demon, he would go on to fight Dr. Doomsday, the Two-Faced Goblin, the Night Spectre, and many more. Once his secret identity was discovered by his nephew Wally West, they both freed the souls also being held by Night Spectre, including Iris Simpson and Jay Garrick. Number 6, the Tornado Twins. Dawn Allen, the daughter of Barry Allen, made her first comic book appearance with Adventure Comics 373. She was conceived in the 30th century after her dad's retirement, but she was born after his death in the first crisis. She had a twin brother also named Dawn, just spelled D-O-N. They had only a fraction of their father's speed, but they were still quite powerful even so. They never got to know their father, so when Wally West arrived in their century, he was kind of shocked that they weren't using their gift to save others every day. But they did assist Wally into getting back to his own timeline by lending some Speed Force energy. After this point, the twins were inspired. They had that fatherly figure to look up to, even if it was only for a moment. After this day, they started to operate as the Tornado Twins. Later on, they would sacrifice their lives to save the Earth from the Dominators, and their deaths were seen in Legion of Superheroes Volume 4, Issue 17. Now, although this portion of Legion history was erased after 0 Hour, their deaths were confirmed in The Flash Volume 2, Issue 92.
Number 5. Inertia. Thaddeus Thawne II, aka Inertia, was created by Thaddeus Thawne in the 30th century as a clone of Bart Allen, aka Impulse, mixed with just a little bit of Thawne's genetic material. Now, unlike Impulse, who aged at an accelerated rate, Inertia was allowed to develop normally. Growing up, he was brought up to be patient and methodical and was taught by the elder Thawne to hate the Allen family with a burning passion, which ended up happening. I don't know, maybe it's genetic or something. The plan was for Inertia to travel back in time and replace Bart Allen, which you probably guessed didn't work. Thaddeus has the ability to alter time relative to himself rather than using the Speed Force like most of the other DC Universe's speedsters out there. He can apparently use this ability to move at speeds rivaling those of even Wally West, the fastest of the Flashes, and usually faster than the speeds that even Wally can muster in most cases. Since Thaddeus isn't actually moving at super speed, the temporal nature of his speed allows him to avoid the usual problems encountered by the other Flash-type speedsters like friction, seeing and hearing at near light speeds, and more. Although he hasn't made much of a mark during his time in comics, he's still done some pretty bad things, like when he gathered a group of Bart's rogues after Bart became the Flash, who just straight up beat him to a pulp. Check him out for yourself, starting with 1999's Impulse, number 50. Number 4. Hunter Zolomon. The second Reverse Flash, who has also gone by Zoom. Hunter Zolomon was a police profiler who was paralyzed in a battle with Gorilla Grodd. When Wally West refused to go back in time and prevent that accident, Zolomon tried to use Flash's cosmic treadmill to do it himself, resulting in a terrible accident that gave him his time-altering powers that mimic super speed. He also for some reason decided that the reason Wally West wasn't willing to take those necessary risks was that he hadn't endured the type of tragedy that Barry Allen had. Zolomon proceeded on a dark path intent on killing Wally's wife, Linda Park, so that Wally could finally become the hero that he was meant to be. I briefly mentioned this before, but instead of super speed, Hunter was granted time-altering powers that mimic super speed, meaning that he doesn't have a connection to the Speed Force. Instead, he uses something called localized chronokinesis, which is essentially a version of time travel that allows him to travel at speeds that rival Wally West. Unfortunately for him though, he was depowered during the events of Final Crisis, likely preventing us from ever seeing him at his fastest. Now why not give his story a read for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2001's The Flash Secret Files and Origins, number 3. Number 3. Black Racer. Otherwise known as the God of Death, the Black Racer is very similar to the Black Flash in a way because he is the physical manifestation of an aspect of death. What sets him apart from the Black Flash though is that he has one huge advantage. The Black Racer has the ability to possess a host and corrupt that person. This means that the already fast Black Racer can take hold of any of the top speedsters just like he did with Bart Allen that one time. The only thing scarier and faster than an evil Bart Allen is an evil Wally West, which the Black Racer is also fully capable of creating. Heck, even without possessing a speedster, the Black Racer has nearly caught up to the Flash on several occasions using his infamous cosmic skis that allow him to reach some ridiculous speeds. Now unlike most versions of Death, he actually serves a master, which is Darkseid, who has proved more than capable of keeping the Black Racer under his control. Check out the Black Racer in his first appearance in 2015's Justice League Volume 2, number 44. Number 2. Savitar. The self-declared God of War and enemy of the Flash, Savitar is just yet another super speedster in the Flash's rogues gallery. He was once a Cold War pilot and received his powers after his plane was struck by lightning at top speed. Discovering that he could now defeat the enemy by moving at super speed, he became obsessed with speed and named himself Savitar, which is Hindu for God of Motion, and dedicated his life to unlocking its secrets. He honed his powers and achieved abilities that no other speedster had yet mastered, like he learned how to transfer speed into objects and people, as well as how to almost instantaneously heal his injuries. Obsessed with gaining more followers, he became the leader of a cult known as the Thunderbolt Agents and used them to his benefit. One time he even gave them the speed of some of the Earth's greatest speedsters. He then sent them to murder Wally West, Max Mercury, and XS, among others. Thankfully though, DC's top speedsters rose to the occasion and were able to apprehend Savitar and his cult as well. Considering how fast and formidable Savitar appears to be, this big baddie is fairly unused. His ability to learn from and manipulate the Speed Force in new ways suggests that his potential has hardly been touched. Check him out for yourself, starting with his very first appearance in 1995's The Flash, Volume 2, number 108. And coming in at number 1, the Reverse Flash. Now since we talked about the other Reverse Flashes, I thought we should talk about the original one, Eobard Thawne. Also known as Professor Zoom, Thawne was once the biggest Flash fanatic to ever live, even going as far as to recreate the reaction that gave Barry his powers, and having an operation done so that he could look just like Barry Allen. He really just wanted nothing more than to meet and befriend his hero. Now his killing tendency came up not long after that when he killed the cashier at the Flash Museum so he could use the holy grail of all Flash memorabilia, the cosmic treadmill, to travel back in time to meet his hero. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a miscalculation and he ended up appearing several years after Allen's death. Distraught and very upset, Thawne escaped to the Flash Museum to get some answers, only to find out that he was destined to become the Flash's greatest nemesis, Zoom. And needless to say, he didn't really take that news well, and this sent him down a dark path. Capable of basically all of the things that the Flash and his Speed family can do, like time travel, super speed, and electrokinesis, what really sets him apart is his ability to completely negate another's connection to the Speed Force, effectively stripping his fellow speedsters of their power and rendering them useless, honestly. Now if you're not familiar with this legendary speedster, check him out in his first appearance in 1963's The Flash, number 139.
Number 10. Jay Garrick. He made his first debut back in Flash Comics issue 1. He was the first Flash, so we figured we gotta start with him. He rocks the blue pants and the red top with a lightning bolt. Classic look, but the thing that stands out the most with Jay is probably his winged hat, Hermes' helmet. He's got super speed and pinpoint accuracy with a helmet. He'll throw a helmet at your kneecaps if he can't catch you. This dude is a badass. He wasn't on a god level like some of these other versions that I'll mention, but he could run at the speed of sound, which back in the 40s that was quite impressive. Jay went to Midwestern University in Keystone City, majoring in both chemistry and physics, but when an experiment to purify water went south, these fumes knocked him out for a whole week. During that beauty sleep, Jay's body rejected nutrients and his metabolism increased greatly. When he did finally wake up, his new powers got him a spot on the Justice Society of America while remaining a scientist. He's getting it done, heroic way and in the nerdy way. We love him. Number 9. Barry Allen. One of the most popular versions of the Flash, of course, has got to be Barry Allen. He made his first appearance in Showcase issue 4. When he was just a child, his mother was sadly killed and his father was convicted of the crime. Barry was so determined to prove his father's innocence, so he went to school at Sun City University, receiving a major in organic chemistry and a minor in criminology. As an adult, he moved to a Central City apartment and began dating Iris West, a reporter from Picture News. An electrical storm hit one night when Barry was working on an experiment when a bolt of lightning hit him while shattering a cabinet full of chemicals. Now this resulted in Barry being now the fastest man alive, and he tried to hail a taxi, but when he ran after it, he was much further than he intended on going. Pretty sweet discovery. He used his power to save Iris West from a stray bullet, and after that point he knew he had to do more. The first villain Barry ever went toe-to-toe with, ironically, was the Turtle Man. Barry wasn't used to controlling these speeds yet, so he would just keep whizzing by him in random directions. It was actually pretty stressful. The Turtle guy did not bad. Slowest guy on Earth versus the fastest guy on Earth, and somehow it came close. He was in a rowboat and he's like, "You can't catch me, Barry." He's like, "I can." And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps us out so much here on the channel. You guys are the best. Now let's get right back to this list. Number 8, Wally West. So after Barry Allen sacrificed his life in the Crisis on Infinite Earth storyline back in 1985, it was Wally West who stepped up to take on the Flash mantle next. He popped up for the first time in the Flash issue 110. He was born in Blue Valley, Nebraska, and he grew up daydreaming about being the Flash one day. So when his Aunt Iris was dating Barry Allen, like the Flash that he dreamt of being, it was like a dream come true. It was like meeting your idol. He was in Barry's apartment and the chemical cabinet was the exact same as how when Barry got his powers, so Wally just had to ask about it. Well, it turns out the weather was also the exact same on this night because Wally wished that he would become the Flash, and it happened. Lightning hit, creating another speedster. That's pretty encouraging. I'm just gonna go hang out near my medicine cabinet next time there's a storm. Just wait. Number 7, Leah Nelson. Earth 9's version of the Flash is one of the most powerful and popular. Double whammy. She's actually the second most recognized person on the planet, despite traveling at blink and you'll miss it speeds. She made her first appearance in Tangent Comics Flash issue 1 back in 1997, created by Dan Jurgens, Todd DeGazzo, and Gary Frank. Now, Leah was famous since birth, not because of her whole abilities, but because her parents were the first astronauts to go on the Jupiter mission. Once Leah grew up and learned how to control these abilities, she took on the alias The Flash, but still wasn't sure if she was loved by the public because of her abilities or just because of who her parents are. Kind of like a Kardashian. She joined the Secret Six later on, but her main goal was to get rid of that world's Harvey Dent, aka Evil Superman. She even got Wally West to help join the fight in Tangent Superman Reign issue 1. Leah is made of light, like literally she could control and manipulate light, but perhaps one of the best features is that she's an amazing actor. Like that would definitely come in handy. During Countdown Arena issue 1, Leah pretended to be a damsel in distress to manipulate Jay Garrick of Earth 2. So many skills. I love it. Number 6, Kingdom Come Flash. On our last list, we were breaking down 10 different versions of Superman, so if you haven't checked that out, do so after this video. It should be somewhere over there. But in it, of course, we mentioned the Kingdom Come storyline. In the Flash of Earth 22, Wally West was the father of Kid Flash and a member of the Justice League. So after Superman had retired, he took his job into overdrive. He was sprinting crime scene to crime scene, just a constant force. You couldn't even have a conversation with the guy. He was that busy. Lots to do now that Supes is gone. I mean, more than fair. The Kingdom Come storyline is one of the most compelling for our characters, especially because the Flash couldn't stop. He didn't have a choice to retire. He had a daughter in this reality as well, named Kid Flash, so he was busy.
Number 5, Johnny Quick. A member of the Crime Syndicate of America, an evil version of the Justice League hailing from Earth 3, Jonathan Allen is Johnny Quick, the Flash of this universe. After conquering the entirety of Earth 3, the Crime Syndicate of America decided to abandon their Earth to terrorize and take over Earth 1 and 2. It took the combined efforts of the Justice League and the Justice Society of America to stop them, although unfortunately for everyone, that wasn't the end of their reign of terror. Now, Johnny was initially depicted as being slower than the Flash. However, he figured out a way to make up for his shortcomings by developing a helmet that vastly increased his top speed, while also deepening his relationship with the Speed Force, making Johnny Quick more than a match for the Flash. Since then, Johnny has shown tremendous command over the Speed Force, defeating countless superheroes in a matter of microseconds in the Forever Evil storyline. It was only after Alexander Luthor, aka Mazza, stole his power that he met his end. Check him out for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 1964's Justice League of America number 29, or feel free to skip ahead to his newer iteration starting with 2013's Justice League Volume 2, number 23. Number 4, The Red Death. Once the hero of Gotham, Bruce Wayne from Earth -52 was forced to seek more extreme approaches to prevent crime after losing all of his Robins. Coming to the conclusion that he wasn't quite fast enough to fight crime, Bruce set his eyes on the Flash, deeming himself more worthy of the Speed Force than Barry Allen, which is pretty presumptuous, but okay, whatever floats your boat. After defeating Barry, Bruce strapped him to the front of the Batmobile and drove them both into the Speed Force using the power of the Batmobile combined with the Cosmic Treadmill. The two merged together and Batman became the Red Death, using his new powers to kill instead of just stopping crime, much to Barry's dismay as his consciousness was still very much alive in Bruce's head. Like all of the Dark Knights of the multiverse, the Red Death represents one of Batman's fears, this one being losing members of the Bat family and his love for them and regret for those he failed. His dialogue and his Speed Force infection also imply he might represent Batman's fear of old age slowing him down as well. Check him out in his first appearance in 2017's Dark Days, the casting, number 1. Number 3, Reverse Flash. No, we're not talking about Eobard Thawne, we're going to be looking at the second Reverse Flash, Daniel West. Daniel ran away from home at an early age because of his abusive and drunk father, and by the time he was 18, he had fallen into the wrong crowd and was a small-time thug. All he wanted more than anything was to mend his relationship with his sister Iris, but after his first attempt, he was thwarted by the Flash and sent to jail for 5 years. When he got out, he wanted nothing more than to kill his abusive father because he felt that was the only way he could make amends with his sister, and gained his Speed Force powers that allowed him to travel back in time after a monorail crashed, and from then on he called himself the Reverse Flash and killed anyone who had a connection to the Speed Force so that he could drain their power. It got to the point where the only two left with a connection to the Speed Force were the Flash and Iris West, and Daniel was able to go back in time to attempt to kill his father. However, it didn't really work out, because his younger self and Iris caught him in the act. He then realized the error of his ways and turned his powers over to the Flash, who set everything right once again. Check out this Reverse Flash for yourself, starting with his first appearance in 2012's The Flash, Volume 4, number 0. Number 2, Black Flash. They say death eventually catches us all, but what happens when you're too fast even for death itself? Well, that's where the Black Flash comes in. Easily one of the most mysterious entities in the DC universe, Black Flash is a symbol of death for speedsters across the multiverse, appearing just before the death of every significant speedster. Able to easily keep pace with the fastest beings in existence, it seems death really is impossible to outrun, even for speedsters. The Black Flash first made an appearance when Wally West seemingly cheated death by using his speedster powers to escape the inevitable. When the Black Flash realized he needed a human host to properly function, he chose Linda Park as his host. After Flash Rebirth brought back Barry Allen from the dead, he also noticed that the Speed Force was changing him, and it was revealed that the Reverse Flash's actions had mutilated the Speed Force and was turning Barry Allen, its avatar, into the Black Flash itself. The entity that could turn any speedster to just just by touching him. The current host of the Black Flash mantle is Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash. Check out this Horseman of Death for yourself, starting with 1998's The Flash, Volume 2, number 138. Number 1, Godspeed. August Hart was the former detective partner of Barry Allen. August was the only witness to Barry's accident that turned him into the Flash, so while going after a criminal organization called the Black Hole, August was struck by lightning during a Speed Force storm in Central City. He became the Flash's quote-unquote partner, but in secret. August became the ruthless vigilante known as Godspeed, and got his revenge on who he suspected to be his brother's killer. Godspeed is basically what the Flash would be if Barry Allen had one bad day. The Flash refrains from using his lethal force, but Godspeed doesn't at all. Godspeed's argument is that Central City would have been a much safer place had the Flash shown some bloodlust. He proves this point when he kills Eobard Thawne, aka the Reverse Flash, who didn't have any speedster powers at the time. Thawne did get his revenge eventually though, because after Barry brings back Thawne via time travel, that Thawne kills August. Man, keeping up with that whole time travel and speedster thing is so tough. Either way, Godspeed is one of the most deadly and dangerous enemies the Flash has ever had to race against. Check him out for yourself, starting with 2016's The Flash Rebirth Volume 2, number 1.